Do you have any key employees in your company? People that make a real difference to the success for where the company may go, how you may increase in value, how you may hire the next employee who wants to train with them? Have you been looking for a way to compensate them differently than the rank and file? Is stock or equity not the path you want to go? Is profit sharing in the 401k too broad and non-specific for them? This is a common situation we hear with many owners, where we're looking for something specific and targeted towards a few individuals that are really making a difference. We don't necessarily want to give them part of the company, or they may not want part of the company. What can we do? We have a profit sharing 401k. We can give them an annual bonus, but how does that help move the needle? The answer to this, in many cases, is at least to take a look at the concept of non-qualified deferred compensation. Non-qualified deferred compensation, complicated word, it's long, confusing. It is a very simple concept, and it is the idea that you are taking what is typically done for all employees is called qualified compensation, right? So qualified retirement plans, those are like 401ks. So we're taking a non-qualified approach, which means we are targeting usually the top earners in the company, top performers, top managers. And there are limitations on who you can include on this list. And you are doing something outside of those constraints and norms. So the typical item we see is some sort of ideal bonus paid for performance. So if you have key people in the company, maybe there could be part of ownership, or they're driving the success of the company going forward. You can carve out specific performance indicators or other criteria that are essentially going to drive them towards success in the same path you're going on. We call it rowing the boat in the same direction. And just to give you an example of what this may look like, you have, let's say 2 or 3 key employees in the company that are in those key roles, and you want to say, I'm going to give you an extra bonus for your retirement at a future date, but I want you to focus on revenue per customer. I want you to focus on new hires to the company. I want you to focus on new client acquisition, just numbers. Whatever you set, there's no rules on that, and you can set performance targets. If you meet the norm, you're going to get 10,000, 20,000 set aside. If you perform above that, it's going to be a higher number. If you perform exceptionally, maybe it's 50 or 100,000 set aside as a bonus. That bonus pool has vesting on it. You can set vesting to be they receive it in a year or 2. We would strongly recommend a longer vesting window that would drive them towards a career at the company, so that when they're watching the success they're creating in the company, they're seeing that value created in an account in their name. Whether that could be a future buy-in for them, or it could just be future retirement money, but they're seeing their efforts, the fruits of their labor pay off in an account they can watch and watch it grow. So again, rowing the boat in the same direction. There's lots of different ways you can build those programs. You can make a promise to pay in the future, and that's it. Ideally, we'd like to see and recommend that they're funded, which would mean that you're using an investment account. It can look just like a 401k, just non-qualified investment account, or you can use cash value life insurance. All of them have different pros and cons. We use a little bit of everything for different situations. So, give an example. There's a client we worked with starting about 4 years ago. He had 3 key employees that he identified as potentially being the succession for him into the future. Once we identified what they did and why they were part of that plan, had a conversation with them, understood their motivations, what they financially were hoping to get out of the company, what they wanted to do in the company and see their futures. He used that to build out a program that showed average performance, medium, and exceptional performance, and how that provided a bonus to them. We used, in their case, a little bit of term life insurance as key man protection, as well as cash value life insurance, because it comes with significant tax benefits. I won't go into the extreme details of that here, but there are some reasons why that can make really good sense for a company and the employees. Once we built that plan out, the idea was to build them down a development track so that once the owner was ready to leave and once the key employees had shown that they could run the company, they could use that pool of money to then buy the equity or an initial lump sum of equity from the owner. So essentially the owner was owner financing the key people buying into the company from their own efforts. So it's kind of like an equity position. They were developing growth and performance for the company, and then having something set aside for them to then use to buy the equity they created. That's pretty motivating when you're an employee versus saying, I'm building something for you that's growing in value that I then have to buy from you at a higher value than I created. So with that incentive in mind, the program was underway. To be plain, the employees did not meet up the expectations the owner was hoping for. They never really stepped up to the level that showed the ownership track. So about 3 years into the program, he had an offer from a third party to buy his company. We helped him work through that process, determined it was a good number, he could retire off of that. He took the offer. So what happens to the key employees in those policies? Well, in this case, the new buyer coming in really wanted to make sure those key people stayed. That's what gave the company a lot of its value. So he took the programs in place and actually enhanced them. The new owner came in to say, here are your targets and your benefits. I'm going to increase those for you. Just do the same thing you were doing before. There's more set aside so he can work on retention for those key individuals. The whole concept around this is it's a multifaceted solution to a common problem that allows your alternatives to plan for an exit and to help retain and attract key talent. If you think through it, if you were a key employee making $100,000 a year and another opportunity comes along, they're offering you $150,000. It's much harder to say yes to that deal when you know you may have $200,000, $500,000, $1 million set aside for you in a deferred compensation vehicle for you just doing your job the way you've been doing it versus taking the risk with a new employer who can't offer that offhand. So hope that explains a little more about how deferred compensation could be a solution to what you're looking for your company and your key people.